Pushback continues against Ohio's Senate Bill 1. The controversial bill would strip Ohio universities of their DEI practices without defining the term for admissions and hiring, while also putting limitations on classroom discussions and offer new mandates for professors. Here to talk about what kind of impact that would have on higher education across the state is YSU OEA Union President Mark Vopat. Mark, thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thanks for having me.
How will the bill impact and restrict professors, not only at Youngstown State, but across other universities in Ohio?
I think there's a lot of directly will it be affected in certain ways and also indirectly. And so some of the direct ways in which this bill impacts us is removing the protections of tenure, essentially, from faculty. So part of this bill does not allow faculty to strike. And it also does not allow us to negotiate on the terms of our employment when it comes to tenure and retrenchment. So in part, this is going to affect faculty directly, and it's also going to affect how we retain and attract new faculty to Ohio, because without the sort of guarantees that tenure provides and sort of safety about what you say in your classroom and how you teach and the topics that you address, this puts a chilling effect on faculty, and I think a lot of new faculty and younger faculty who are looking for jobs are going to avoid Ohio in favor of places that have these protections in place.
Part of the bill would require students to fill out mandatory faculty bias reviews. What kind of precedent do you think that could set, and also what kind of impact could that have on not just the candidates but the universities trying to figure out how to manage this system?
I mean, you're asking for a lot of hardship on the part of administrators in one way, right? So there's the cost of this. So students that right now we already have student complaint systems. There's nothing in this that is really new in that regard. But when it comes to this specifically, then you have to have a process for adjudicating these, right? So is it really the case that what I've said in my classroom is biased in some way? Was I not presenting both sides? Or was it that you were offended by the fact that a different view was offered? And so this brings up a whole gray area of how do we adjudicate this? How do we find out whether or not, in fact, the faculty member is right about this, whether the student was simply sensitive to a particular topic? And again, this goes back to what I mentioned before, is puts a chilling effect, right? Am I going to run the risk of being in a number of complaint meetings or sessions because a student took offense to what I said, even if it's not the case that it was actually offensive, or if it was the case that I was actually presenting a very balanced position? It's just that they didn't like the fact that one view was given the same status or weight as another view. So again, we don't know really what the impact is going to be once these things are put in place.
Yeah, I think the question centers around who's going to be the one that regulates that, and the oversight, who's the one judging that. So we'll learn more if this gets signed. A lot of the bill's language, though, calls for universities to dismantle their DEI programs, scholarships. The hiring process would change. How do you think that could affect the student body, especially at a time when we are seeing universities across the state and across the country losing enrollment numbers because we're seeing smaller student population?
I mean, this is a bill that literally removes money from students. So at YSU, we do have scholarships that are targeted towards minorities and women that help those, particular groups. We have scholarships, that are ethnically based, so it's sort of like I received a scholarship when I was coming to university at one point where it was a Slovak Society scholarship, Czechoslovak Society. So immediately there's a concern that some students may in fact lose access to financial resources, to scholarships, which makes it just that much harder to go to school.
Mark Vopat, thank you so much for joining us on this evolving story.